Each and every one of us have a responsibility to adapt to the changing times, to the new generations. We need to set the new standard for the millennials. We need to set the new standard for industry and education, and all work together to close the skills gap. I'm confident that this conversation today will continue the progress that we are making to change the policy and the stigma behind what it means to be an employable citizen for the next generation of workers.
The skills gap in this country is very real and is having a damaging impact on our nation because of a tremendous social cost associated with the lack of that skilled workforce, the loss of tax revenues associated with the loss of that workforce, and the impact it is having on our ability to compete as a nation in a global economy. And worse yet is the fact that we are losing what has been one of our greatest strengths in the backbone of this country since its inception, and that is its middle class.
Our growth as a company and our competitiveness is dramatically impacted by this skills gap. I personally, in the last 2 years, have spent far more of my time on recruiting and changing our policies to be able to retain folks, working in the education world, trying to create a student flow, because of this problem, not focused on innovation and expansion like I should be. So the problem is huge. The economic impact is not only do we not have the people making the $60,000, $70,000 a year range that these skills can provide, but we have fewer salespeople, we have fewer engineers, we have fewer finance people, because the company's not growing as fast.
According to the Business Roundtable, today in America, even with the labor participation rate at one of its lowest levels in decades, there's about 5 million jobs going unfilled in this country today because there is the lack of skill to fill those positions.
We have a culture that everyone has to go to college. And yet the fastest growing jobs in this country are around certificates and certifications.
Several decades ago, it was decided that for our youth to be able to achieve the American dream, that there was a single pathway, and that was to get a 4-year college degree or higher. I also believe that that was about the time that we began to demean work in this country. And I can tell you, I heard it over and over and over again. If you do not go to college and get your degree, you might end up in construction. Didn't do me any harm, let me tell you. But think about that. Think about the message that sends to someone who gets up with their passion and takes the skills that they've learned and goes out every single day and goes to work to build America's future. And that's what we do in construction. It basically sends a message that we don't value what you do. And it sends the same message to millions of other employees, not just in construction, but in many other industries that are also critical to America's economy. Manufacturing, aerospace, healthcare, transportation. Terrible, terrible message. And meanwhile, I think it has fostered an educational elitism, where basically very viable alternatives such as career and technical education and community colleges are denigrated. And I think as similar elitism is affecting our view of the workforce, where middle-skilled jobs that pay very good wages and require advanced technical skills, like you've seen out here on this floor, are often demeaned because they don't require a 4-year college degree. And think of the number of kids that you discourage from promising careers with that mindset.
If you look at what's going on in some of the states currently right now, they're defunding or attempting to defund career and technical education. When we start to reach out to educators, they often are starting from a position of weakness. Weakness because they don't have the funding streams to provide some basic equipment that they need. They don't have the funding streams to bring on the employees that they need, specifically instructors or recruiters. All those things place significant barriers in front of us to be able to either establish partnerships with education or grow partnerships with education.
I think we need more energy and enthusiasm around this broad field. I think these are complex, multi-layered issues we're talking about here with lots of interconnection, but we need to find a way to simplify it so that we can get more people interested and excited.
There's a total disconnect, non-understanding of sort of, let's call it the return on investment of education for our kids.
The shortest distance from being a student in high school and a meaningful job, or the ability to go on to post-secondary education, is through career and technical education programs. And that is a statistic that is true. And if it is true, then why are we so willing in this country and in the states to spend more and more money on social programs when many of them do not work? And we want to spend more and more money on prison beds when the recidivism rate is over 65% in this nation, and yet we are not willing to spend more money on career and technical education or to spend more money in our community college districts. It's insane.
Education can't do this alone. They need us at the table, and it's more than just attending an advisory council meeting once or twice a year.
I think unless we have industry-led focus on education, we're going to have a huge problem. At the end of the day, business needs to lead, education needs to learn how to better execute, and government needs to support.
Nothing's going to happen unless you take action. So it's sometimes hard as a business person to shift our focus from the task at hand to achieving, to either getting that sale or providing that service. But the reality is that if you don't shift your focus and address and go after some of these recommendations, you're not going to see anything different, and you're not going to find the talent that you need for your business, and it will impact your bottom line.
As a business, if we want to compete and be successful, we have no choice but to get involved in this level, at this level. And I would suggest that businesses all across America, you cannot wait around for someone else to do this for you. You have to get involved in the training and development of your employees if we want to reverse this trend of a lack of a skilled workforce in this country.
So while American employers are reporting a talent shortage, SkillsUSA is preparing a pipeline of skilled workers that possess the technical, leadership, and workplace skills needed to be job ready day one in the most in-demand industries.